at First Lutheran in Pontiac. This is our Common Sense Theology, our word of hope for today. Hope you're doing well. I want to talk to you about something that we are so unwilling to do many times, or we just don't think we can do. And it's forgiveness, but actually forgiving ourselves. Have you ever thought that the hardest person to forgive many times is yourself? When I mess up, when I sin, when I have a hard time forgiving myself. When I have, especially if it involves other people and it has hurt someone or it's done something to offend somebody, I don't do that on purpose, but it happens from time to time. And I can't forgive myself sometimes. But you know what happens when you don't do that? You're holding yourself to a higher standard than God. You ever thought about that? Hold yourself to a higher standard than God. God will forgive us. Even if the other person doesn't, God will forgive us. And when we can't forgive ourselves, we are holding ourselves to that higher standard than God. And we don't need to do that. Forgive yourself, especially if others have, and move forward. Do your best to make up for whatever you've done, whatever it is, especially if it involves others. Do whatever you can to make up for it and to fix it. But in the end, you have to forgive yourself, because the same thing happens if you can't forgive others. It festers, it grows, and it will keep you from God. And then eventually you kind of drift away and you're not in access to God, if you will, like you should. What happens when we sin is we put a barrier between ourselves and God. We put something there. Not that God, we're going to hell, none of that, but we put a barrier between, and it becomes so much easier to ignore God. God wants that barrier removed. That's why we have weekly forgiveness, confession. We should ask God to forgive us each and every day. This is why we need weekly communion, so that we're getting the grace of God, so that God's forgiveness, His grace is there. And it becomes much easier for us to have that. Everybody wants this relationship with God. What's so much easier to be in contact, in relationship with God. But you got to forgive yourself. So don't hold yourself to that higher standard than God does. Forgive yourself and move forward. Pray today God will bless